Cancel?
Yeah. It's when you jeopardize the livelihood and reputation of someone.
Oh. Why?
I'm a part of the most toxic community on the internet.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the OC Podcast. My name is Owen Adams.
And I'm Connor McTighe. The banjo player from Mumford & Sons came out on Twitter praising some book written by some right-wing pundit. He might have read something that he liked or, something that really grabbed his attention, and he ran with it, and he ran with it a little too fast. He didn't check his sources, and he pretty much got blackballed for it.
I think my opinion on things like this is that even if his opinion is dumb and he didn't, check his sources, I think he should still be allowed to say what he wants to say and think what he wants to think. The backlash here, he's taking time away. I don't know if that means he's fired. I don't know if that means he quit temporarily. Either way, he's praising this guy, Andy, here, because I don't know if we're allowed to actually say his name. Andy put out this book called Unmasked, and we're talking about Antifa.
Are we even allowed to say that?
What?
Are we even allowed to talk about this?
Well,
is this talking about it too much?
I think Antifa is allowed because they're because they're the good guys, right? They have a plan to destroy democracy. I mean, it's very vague. I don't know if that's their plan. I don't know if this is actually in their charter. Probably not. I do know that they're not a fan of fascism, and that is about as much as I want to say about Antifa.
Nobody can keep their mouth shut about anything. Look at us. And he instantly said something. He called the guy a brave man on Twitter.
So let's be clear here. Let's be clear.
So that's all he really did.
Winston Marshall, he's not saying anything specific about Antifa or about politics. What's your opinion on artists getting called out and censored and then apologizing for it, as if that's going to even do anything? But what do you think about that?
So when it comes to artists apologizing in general, it really is a situation by situation ordeal. Am I really going to expect this man to be a wealth of knowledge on American politics? I don't. Any more than I would expect him to think that I'm a wealth of knowledge on British politics. So, I'm not going to hate on the guy for being misinformed.
I mean, he called this guy Andy a brave man. He should just be thrown in jail and just throw away the key. Ian Brown steps down from festival over vaccine. Singer Ian Brown has pulled out of a festival appearance over his refusal to play events that accept vaccination proof as condition of entry. So he says the set will not happen. He also apparently was using his Twitter to protest the idea of vaccine passports, railing against the use of masks. It's another one of these issues where, you can argue that this is medical misinformation or whatever, but guess what? Ian Brown is not a medical expert. He's not a doctor.
Not at all.
And
the one thing that I will say about Ian Brown, and keep in mind, I'm saying one thing about Ian Brown because I've never heard a song that he's made. I do not know who this man is. However, what I will say is that it sounds like 90% of his livelihood is based on travel. You don't own the airline that's flying you. You don't own the airline that's flying you. He felt like the only way that he could do anything about his restricted travel was by appealing to the masses on Twitter. Now that is where he runs into problems, though, because that right there is where you run into this whole influencing of public opinion. And in this day and age, people are so easily influenced that anybody could read one of Ian Brown's tweets and misinterpret it as the vaccine isn't safe or this, that, or the other thing.
You're not allowed to say that phrase. You're not allowed to say those words in that order, by the way.
At all?
No, not even if you're in context of your sentence means the opposite.
Okay. Anyhow, what I'm saying is any one person could read Ian Brown's tweet and misinterpret it as never, don't How the fuck am I supposed to say this then, Owen?
That's what I mean. That's why censorship is dumb. Because we can't even convey a point because we're afraid some algorithm is going to come to get us.
Hang on.
If you say the wrong thing and people take it too seriously, it could have dire consequences in the public. I mean, is that kind of what you're getting
Yes.
at? So free speech is good, but it can also have consequences. However, I'm willing to live with those consequences, man. I'm a fan of freedom.
A lot of this cancel culture stuff is because there are so many crackpots out there pushing snake oil theories and conspiracy garbage. I mean, there's so much of this information and disinformation and misinformation out there that it is very, very easy for one to get lost in the sauce.
But if somebody takes that for the ultimate truth and they believe it 100%, and they take advice from somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about, isn't that on them? Isn't that isn't that the person's problem? Like,
that is on them.
Right. So where does Twitter and Facebook and these tech platforms who have more power than any government on the planet Earth, where do they get off telling people you're not smart enough, we have to make this decision for you? Morgan Wallen, country singer. He got caught by a very nosy neighbor who seems to be recording him 24/7, like some sort of surveillance system.
Now talk about a country singer getting caught with his pants down.
Yeah, right. And so he's had all his TV appearances deleted and all kind of censorship happen. Let's see this egregious offense that he has done. And that's about it.
And there goes his whole career.
There goes his entire career. Also, at the end of this video, Connor pointed out another offense that I didn't even notice over here. Check this one out. This one's really bad.
All right, watch this, guys. Come on. Yo, he kidding me? He didn't open the door for her.
Look at that.
What an animal.
Yep.
Context or not, what he was saying was wrong. Duh. We can just all put that behind us. Yeah, what he said was wrong. Absolutely. Now, have you ever said something on your front porch or out in front of your house? Think long and hard about anything that you ever might have said that you would be really, really hoping that your neighbors weren't filming you for hours and hours and hours at a time from across the street. Do you think that there's not a possibility that they might just catch something? I'm saying there's two awful parties here, and I don't think we talk about that second awful party enough.
Yeah.
Who is this neighbor person? Like, for real. And the fact that people are so obsessed with trying to catch somebody on this, that, or the other thing is like, get your own life.
But Connor, the canceller's response would be, but he's a celebrity. He's held to a higher standard.
He's held to a higher standard, and a bunch of other country musicians came out and said, we need to get that out of country. Like, they're not in the back room with their producers throwing that word around all the time anyway. Like, come on. Like, first off, that's about the most half-hearted bunch of crap I've ever heard in my life, coming from CMT and all these people. Not at all. I don't buy into any of that crap whatsoever.
But CMT is so virtuous because they care so much about fighting racism and stopping hatred and bigotry that they've deleted this guy's career. So thank you, CMT.
Thanks, guys.
You're just fighting for justice.
I no longer listen to Morgan Wallen as a result of never wanting to listen to Morgan Wallen in the first place.
Right. I mean, plus that door thing, that was really bad. We have guitar legend Eric Clapton says he had a disastrous reaction to the jab after experiencing side effects. Eric Clapton says His hands and feet felt like they were frozen, numb, or burning, and pretty much useless. So the guitar legend was unable to play guitar. This is not his first rodeo. This is not his first controversial opinion on this topic. Him and Van Morrison collaborated on some tracks, and they did just about every wrong opinion that you could have. We're talking about anti-lockdown, anti-masks.
He was very all of it was very anti-lockdown. Was it anti-mask too?
Anti-jab, anti-censorship in general, I believe some of them were.
So they were just anti so much, right? And that was at the beginning of the pandemic. Now, I mean, don't you find it a little convenient that he's part of this very small group of people who got side effects, and he's also happens to be one of the people aligned with Van Morrison, one of the people who's super anti all this stuff?
Yeah.
I find that a little convenient.
It is possible, maybe even likely, that he's more willing to hype up the severity of his side effects, or maybe add a couple of days to the length of time that his hands were numb or whatever. I think that's possible. I think you can say that without calling Eric Clapton a liar. If people have the freedom to say what they want,
then people have the freedom to give him backlash too. That is another thing. So I don't necessarily think that any of these people who are being pulled from their platforms, any of these people who are having all their videos taken down, or this, that, or the third, I don't agree with the pulling their content or making it so that, oh, now nobody can access your stuff. Nobody can see the things that you say because it's been decided that it's a crap. I think that that's
being done by the corporations and by the government.
I think that it should still be publicly available for viewing, but anybody also has the freedom to go on there and speak out against whatever it is that they find negative or whatever.
And that is the other side of this that people don't seem to acknowledge, is when you deperson these people and deplatform them and delete them from existence, you're also deleting any potential pushback that people can make against that. You're deleting that conversation from even happening. And like we already said before, it doesn't actually delete it. It just deletes it out of the mainstream. And so I think Van Morrison probably would agree with our sentiments here, even if we disagree with him on the little issues, the particulars. I think there's a difference between corporate censorship, government censorship, and people having a right to speak up and disagree. He's singing about fascist bullies and claiming governments are deceiving people. He claimed the government deceives people? How dare he?
How dare he?
Right? When you're the one trying to protect the government, as if the government has everybody's best interest at heart, every single decision that they make. Like, doesn't that kind of make you the bad guy? So I just think it's ridiculous. I'm done with this cancel culture stuff. We had to make this video today because if we didn't, there would be another 10.
There was going to be 10 more stories next week, and we only wanted to put 4 in.
But we want to know what your opinion is in the comment section down below. Is freedom of speech important? Is it irrelevant? Should it be written out of the Constitution entirely? Do you agree with what we said in terms of free to speak and free to see and free to discuss and free to criticize? Does all of that go hand in hand, or is it okay to sometimes shut down people who have the wrong opinion? Let us know in the comment section down below. We love you whether you agree with us or not.
Ain't it the truth?
It's all good. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell, turn on your notifications if you want to be updated on our new uploads, and share this video. Share it with all the musicians you know, share it with all the government officials you know, share it with all the tech platform CEOs that you know. And last but not least, hit that like button if you're feeling our threads this evening. By the way, you can check out our last installment of talking about free speech and censorship, which we did, a year ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And there was just as much stuff to cover back then. It is not slowing down. If anything, it's escalating. So with that being said, this is the OC Podcast.
And we are signing out.